Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. Hopefully we have a few more new subscribers watching the video today. I put it out on my main channel, but yeah, I know from the thumbnail and the title, it's kind of, we flipped the normal script on its head for a video, maybe a video or two. Normally we cover the three just most garbage, not plausible conspiracy theories from Game of Thrones that I can find through Facebook, Reddit, random groups on Twitter, shit like that. But today we're going to go through two that are kind of more mainstream with a twist, and then the third one I really haven't heard before, so it's my the most interesting one to me. 1 through 3, there's no real order to it. That's how I found them, that's how I did the research, and that's how we're going. But yeah, these three are, like I said, mainstream. I would call them like moderately to strongly plausible. I think all three of them could possibly be moderate. I think the first one's probably strongly plausible, and I'm going to try. I know when I write things down on this channel compared to my other channels, I write things down here and I just start talking really fast, so I'm going to try to hold back on talking really fast while I'm reading this, so just bear with me. So right off the bat, we're going to go with Bran the Builder was a Green Seer / is actually just Bran Stark. So Bran the Builder, legendary, founder of House Stark, builder of the wall, and pretty much everything at that point, may not have been just a great king, but also a Green Seer. And in this, it kind of branches out into two different conspiracy theories in one. One side, I think the more Facebook side, was Bran the Builder was actually a Green Seer himself, looking forward in the Weirwood network, building things he thought he would need in the future, or that Westeros, humanity, whatever, would need in the future. And I believe it's the more Reddit side was, no, Bran Stark was actually going back through the Weirwood network, taking control of Bran the Builder, building things that Bran Stark himself would need in the future. So that's kind of where it branches off. Leave it in the comments which one you think it is. I think more than likely it's Bran looking back, building for the future. So Bran the Builder lived 8,000 years ago, which was, God, that's a long time. And he's credited with not only building the wall, yeah, he built the wall, but Winterfell, Storm's End. I even saw some people saying that possibly Harrenhal, which seems kind of crazy for one guy. So the evidence for this kind of says, Bloodraven tells Bran, "You will never walk again, but you will fly," foreshadowing time and mind-bending powers. Fly means he could do anything, so that's kind of sketchy for me. Fly means he could take over a bird and fly. There you go. That's something that they do. So in the show, Bran uses his Green Seer power to observe and even influence the past. For example, when young Ned Stark hears Bran whispering, that's a great example. The idea of Bran Stark influencing the past was reinforced by the show's Hodor scene, where he basically created Hodor by what seemed like accident, or was it? Who knows? And the time looping thing, there are some fans out there that are like, oh, Bran actually becomes trapped in the time loop, trying to prevent the White Walkers by going back in time, and possibly just becoming Bran the Builder. This is where fan fiction kills so much for me, because some of their theories are just so bad. And there's another one where he goes back in time and gets stuck and then ends up becoming the Night King. So there's that. The supporting clues aren't exactly the best, but Bran's name, they're both named Bran, so there's that. Winterfell's magical foundations, the hot spring and mystical features. It says built by somebody with supernatural knowledge, or just again common sense. Hey, this water never gets cold. Maybe we should build things on top of it to keep it warm. So supporting clue that might not be the greatest thing ever. And the wall itself has like spells woven into it, hints that the builder knew about magic, not just manpower, but at the same time, like, everybody and everything helped him build the wall, so they probably could have just done it. So that is number one. this was the moderate to strong conspiracy theory. The other two kind of go downhill a little bit, but they're still moderately possible. This one's moderate to strong. Okay, so they're only going to get more weird or more cryptic the further we go with this. So number 2 is the crypts of Winterfell hide a terrible secret. I kept running across the word terrible, so that's how I worded it, but in the grand scheme, it's super subjective. The ancient crypts of Winterfell could be more than just tombs. I've seen powerful secrets, which may not be necessarily terrible, magical relics, which again might not be necessarily terrible, and this one, a threat beneath the north, yeah, that could be theoretically terrible. I've read a dragon, the Horn of Winter, a gateway to the lands of the dead. The gateway to the lands of the dead, I did actually read about years ago, or watched a video on it. Everything's just running together about how there's actually the crypts are just a secret tunnel system that runs all the way through the north, under the wall, and then pops out on the other side. Seems a bit, just construction-wise, that seems a bit flawed, but okay. So, in the books, this is why people believe it. So, in the books, basically everyone in the Stark family, Jon, Bran, whatever, have repeated having eerie dreams of the dead kings of winter are watching them, hearing whispers, feeling like just creeped out or like something's waiting around the corner. Sure, that's kind of like, to me, the dragon dreams from the Targaryens, where it's like, if everyone in a certain family seems to be having weird dreams, somebody should probably be taking note or keeping track of all of these dreams. This is another one that they're so large, they're immensely vast. This is why people are like, oh, it's actually an underground path to the north, or like the actual north. Okay, cool. It's because they're larger than most other castles, because in my head, not many castles are that old. Like, the Starks were there before some of these houses were even like the main house of that region. So they have thousands of years of dead kings under Winterfell. Another one is that the crypts were there before Winterfell was built, so that there was like a reason for all of it. Okay. And then you don't just see this in Game of Thrones, you see this in a lot of sci-fi shows, basically anything with a large fan base, and the author, in my opinion, intentionally leaves some things just like open to interpretation. Doesn't really give you specific details and wants you, I don't know if he wants you to, but people just start coming up with their own explanation. So Old Nan says the kings of winter sit their cold thrones still, implying more than a metaphorical presence. Because it's Game of Thrones, because it's in this genre of everything, that could mean, I think in the show they were all sitting in their thrones with like an iron sword. That could just mean that's what they're doing in the crypt still, because that's how they built it. Or that could mean they're just like waiting for some shit to pop off again. So that's a weird one. Like I said, one was plausible, and then this one's like slightly plausible, and then the last one's like moderately plausible. So in this version of the theory, I said the Horn of Winter earlier. The magical weapons. There's magical weapons to fight the White Walkers, just in case a big bad comes. Break the glass for the crypts of Winterfell. So the Horn of Winter is said to be down there, and it could bring down the wall and awaken giants. Sure. I've seen this a bunch of times too. There's actually a secret dragon under Winterfell, and that's why everything's always warm. I, again, find that hard to believe. They said it's either frozen or magically preserved. If they had the ability to magically preserve shit, I'm pretty sure they'd have picked another dragon to be magically preserved somewhere else. An ancient evil. Darker theory says the crypts are actually a prison holding back forgotten power tied to the others. Which, I mean, that one's could be plausible, I guess, because in the show the crypts were like targeted specifically by the Night King. It was like to raise the dead Starks, but in the grand scheme, if there was a big bad locked under there, yeah, you'd probably want to get that big bad out to like help. Some say Jon Snow's destiny, like that's where he's going to find out his true heritage and pick up a magical sword. if he was the prince that was promised and the sword was down there, sure, that would kind of make sense, but okay. Again, I already talked about the Night King specifically targeting that. In the Clash of Kings, the book, Bran dreams about the crypts after Ned's death and hears something calling out to him. Well, he's a green seer and there's like thousands of years of dead Stark kings. Could literally be any of them saying, yo, bro, like, you're an idiot, do this. Master Lewin warns Bran not to go deep into the crypts. From what I recall, it's like partially collapsed, so in my head you can only go so far. There's that, and then the third one, that one's moderately likely, like I said. The third one and my favorite, that I haven't really looked into or heard too much of, is that Ned Stark secretly knew about the White Walkers and the true threat that, was beyond the wall. So the theory goes, Ned Stark, secretly as Warden of the North, knew far more about the coming threat than anyone realized. So I wouldn't even say he was preparing, but I found that the theory is that he was preparing for the White Walkers' arrival or coming or starting to stir before Robert came and was like, hey, can you be hand of the king? Why people believe it, I found everyone specifically saying Ned, but through like just knowing the Starks, it's not just him, they're really strict about tradition, the old gods, maintaining Winterfell's strength, even if like nothing's really popping off. He supports the Night's Watch by sending people like his own brother and Jon, his son, which turns out in the show, not so much his son, but a Stark nonetheless. And I saw that everyone was saying he takes the Wall's report serious, unlike the South. Yes and no. It seems like even the Wall doesn't take serious its own reports at this point. The Wall and the Night's Watch used to be where noblemen would send people would volunteer to go because it was like serving the realm. And it kind of has degraded. Yes, Benjen's there. Benjen was probably trained at Winterfell how to fight because he was a noble. Jon, in the show, first day there, he was 3v1ing people because he was the only one trained. The Wall used to be, like I said, looked at favorably. And now it's like they go through and say, hey, we're going to just clear out all the jails and say, hey, you're the King's Watch now. How you doing? Yes, and then you run into like people at the Wall or in the Night's Watch that are noblemen are never seem to be there by like choice. They seem to be escaping something, like from, let's take Robert's Rebellion. If you were on the wrong side, it was just like, do you want to be beheaded or do you want to go join the Night's Watch? And people are like, I'll take the black. Thank you. Have a good day. And that's kind of seems how it was. It seems like now the only people that are like noblemen that go there are escaping exile or just trying to get away from actual punishment. So I wouldn't say that makes the North more qualified for sending people up there that are not shitbags. His execution in the North conveniently removes the one man, the linchpin of knowledge of the North and loyalty to the Watch. Yeah, it's one of those things to me where that could be anything. It could be one of those things that just happened and everyone's blowing it out of proportion, but it is what it is. The Stark's word, winter is coming. Turns out it's more than a seasonal warning. Yes and no. Again, one of those things people are blowing out of proportion. If every single Stark king for thousands and thousands of years have said winter's coming, and then winter eventually does come 5,000 years later, does that make them right, or was that just like, well, my dad said winter's coming, so I'm just going to keep saying winter's coming? So that's another weird one. Jon's upbringing, this was the weird one that I saw. Jon's upbringing in the North was a Targaryen in the North around all the old gods and old magic would have made Jon better. I don't know. Kind of seems kind of bullshit to me. And the North is the only region where the old gods are kind of worshipped, not like in secret or behind closed doors, but just openly. I don't really think that has any bearing on whether Ned got a note that was passed down from generation to generation, be like, say winter is coming, the White Walkers might come back. I'm gonna skip that one. I wrote it down, but it has to do with Jon being raised in the North. Don't care. Don't care. It's one of those last dragon, blood, doesn't matter. Ned reflects that he kept secrets too well, suggesting there are things that maybe he should have been more open about with a few people rather than just taking that to the grave. And it says he has a strong bond with his brother, and his brother being first ranger of the Night's Watch implies a shared concern with more than just wildlings. But it seems like, from what we know from the show at least, that the White Walkers were just like, bang, there one day. It's not like they knew a bunch of, like, they knew something strange was there, but they didn't know, like, hey, the people who we've been, built the wall for, they're actually coming back. It was just like, wildlings were disappearing, wildlings were dying. Nothing crazy like a gigantic enemy that can reanimate the dead is coming from the north. I don't really think that was in the cards. So this one's moderately plausible. While there's no hard proof that he knew that the others specifically were coming, because again, winter's coming is just super, if you say it enough times and happen to be right out of 8,000 years of saying it, it's not really proof of anything. But there's enough circumstantial evidence to know that maybe Ned knew something was stirring above the wall or north of the wall. So yeah, there's that. Alright, if you like this, that's the end. Like, subscribe, all that crap. I enjoy doing these stupid little conspiracy things because there's such a variety of craziness mixed with things actually being possible. But I'm probably going to go back to, why are these the dumbest people on the planet coming up with the dumbest conspiracies? But yeah, have a good rest of your day, guys. Peace.